sometimes people remind somebody of somebody and it just makes them just like hate that person guts. I don't know. It's weird. Now let me ask this, because we're in the challenge section. So we already talked about the facade of people, oh, I didn't met the Jesus, so I'm a new person. But what if if what you went through pushes you closer to God for real and real transformation? What happens when that happens? Why do you think that when people get saved, healed, delivered, set free, like I said, I've seen it. Why do you think we're so quick to demonize them and say that it's fake? What's up, y'all? So, look, let me just go ahead and keep it short with you. Did you know that as of 2024, the United States has a literacy problem? 21% of adults cannot read, and 54% of them have been recorded, and it has been documented read below a sixth grade level. That is a catastrophe. But that's where I step in. Now, I'm not going to teach the grown folks how to read and write. However, PSA, the Ghostwriting Solution, has now a new package. It's called the Literacy Liftoff, and it caters to 9th through 12th graders who struggle with reading, writing, and comprehension. This new tutoring service will offer vocabulary skills, teaching students how to literally write from the bottom, literally teaching them how to do an introduction paragraph, how to do a hook, how to do a conclusion, how to add a little razzle dazzle, and how to add their own personal touch to it. Okay. Now, you know what you're saying. Well, Izzy, that's what they go to school for. Absolutely. But as an ex-teacher, the teachers just don't have time. So this program has 3 different packages from 3 different sets of hours that you can take. So if you're an AP, a principal, the student who needs help, the parent of the student, or you just know somebody who needs the help. If you're in the Houston area, you can get in-person tutorials. But if you are not in Houston, there are also virtual options offered as well. So hit me up at my email, theprodigyperspective@gmail.com, and or psathepodcast.com, and we will hook you up. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. It is another week. PSA, we here today. I didn't mean to rhyme though. That was funny a little bit. What's today? It's another Thursday. And I took last week off. I told y'all I was gonna take it off in advance. Anything happened? No, not for real. I wanted y'all to catch up on some content. I feel like I had a lot of content that was just like boom, 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 boom. And I feel like I need y'all to feast on this, and I think that we didn't get a chance to get that done. And also, we did the live stream last Monday. But I did take off, not because of the election. Now I'm going to break the fourth wall. I actually contemplated getting a group of people and having a discussion about the results. I didn't get a chance to do that because it was last minute, and I really wish I would have thought of that in advance, did like a live stream. But, and I would have got people intentionally got people with different views on purpose. We might have went viral, but you know how that go. But anyway, it's something I want to talk about. A topic that I actually put in my notes a while ago. I actually planned to do this episode alone, but I got some reinforcements. So we're going to get into that. But let me first introduce this week's meme. The meme reads, y'all use God in therapy as an excuse to avoid taking accountability, and I don't like that. Inspirations come from a few things. So there's a content creator, like I said, I'm not going to say his name, but he got blasted for basically doing what I just described. And I'll get more into that in the happy hour section. A quote I like that says, growth begins with owning your mistakes and ends with making better choices. It is easier to wear a mask of transformation than to actually be transformed. And then Galatians 6:5, it says, every man shall bear his own burden. We'll get more into that later because there's an article I found that that uses that as like the focal point. And we're going to get into the article as we get into the episode. All right, now let's jump into it because I do got a little quick rant. Let's get into today's happy hour. All right. So basically, we're going to talk about crashing out, which a lot of y'all been doing. And the first thing I'm going to talk about with crashing out is this content creator. Again, they're not going to put their name on blast, but this person is on all social media platforms. And this person has been known to make great content, a lot of brand deals. But it came out that this person was basically scamming people. They fell out with all their friends and all these different things. And I'm gonna say both sides of the ball with that one because I don't want this. This is not the gossip corner, right? But what I'll say, the first side of it is, if you got blasted and you actually did these things, you'd be better off just coming out and saying you did it because it's already out now. Now I'm the type of person to say get ahead of the game before it even hits the air. That way you got the spin on it, not even from a manipulative angle, just from the angle of you take control of your own destiny. That's just how I look at it. But in the same breath, you did not do that, and so, allegedly, and now all this stuff coming out, and then it's like now you didn't became a devout Christian now, and you love the Lord. And not saying that that's a lie, but if you did do those things, I would need you to take accountability. Now, on the flip side, there are times when people have banded together and lied. I do believe it was what's part of that when the Bible was talking about they would loose the lying spirit amongst the people and they all was lying. So that could be a thing too. Like I said, I don't know these people personally. That's why I'm saying both sides of the ball, because if they all lying, then cool, the lies going to end up coming out as lies anyway. But if not, I just think you need to. I just hate the fact that people will be like, say somebody did you so terrible, and then they come back, and I got a personal story in a second, but say somebody did you so terrible, and then they come back, ain't talk to you, and I don't know how long, they see you somewhere, they DM you or something, and they start talking about them, and they talking about their relationship with grown men. Me, I've been in church more, I've been praying more, I'm in therapy now, and I'm seeing, some things. Where's the apology at? And I used to say, back in the day, I used to be like, if the person didn't give it, if you waiting on an apology for a relationship not to be restored, then you being petty. And I used to say that, and because I'm like, and then I would say that, but then I'll be like, I would still look at you differently. But to me, that's a heavy form. That's a big spirit of pride. If you just cannot just say you were wrong, I apologize. And for me, I think that that's something where it's like, we can be back cool, but it just won't be the same, because it's just like, you just can't say you were wrong here. I don't get that. Now, let me talk about the crash out of this recent election, because y'all was crashing out. Now, let me say this. I understand everybody wanted Kamala to win. I get it, right? And I know everybody didn't, because some of y'all be lying. Because some of y'all was in them group settings saying y'all wanted her to win just because y'all ain't want people to be mad at y'all. But in reality, y'all was either voting Trump or y'all voted independent. I know what y'all was doing because y'all told me what y'all was doing. But this is the thing. I get y'all wanted the lady to win. It would have been a good look for a black lady to be in the president. Be thankful that she was at least a VP, because that's still a feat, right? It's like y'all forgot all about that. But I made a post that got me canceled because I said, if you are cutting people off and removing people because of this election and because of their views, I said that you're emotionally immature. It was a repost. I don't care who you voted for. If you did that, I also said in the live stream prior, I said that if somebody cuts you off for that, they were looking for a reason. I got a DM from somebody who I actually had been questioning for a very long time as far as our relationship. And he DM'd me and was just like, this post is immature. I'll never support somebody that does that or something. So me, when I see people are ruffled up, I'm not going back and forth with you. I just said, okay. And I looked up and I got blocked. Also, I'm going to add, again, this podcast is catered to men. Not one woman DM'd me about that post. Only men. That's a problem. But I'm done ranting for the day. We have a great episode today. One where I get to, we're around the holiday season, and, we're going to have an episode dedicated to grief. But I think this one will kind of touch on that a little bit. This man is a doctor. This man has a lot of things going on, single father. I don't want to tell his whole story, but he has a lot of insight and a lot of wisdom. And I can't wait for him to say all that we got to say. So let me go ahead and introduce him right now. My guy.
What's up, good sir? One, thank you for this opportunity to serve and to be on the podcast. It's an honor, privilege, and pleasure to serve, man. I'm super excited.
Okay, thank you for coming. So now, obviously, my YouTubers can see you, but for my audio people with the podcast, can you tell the people what's your name, where you from, and then where do you live now?
Okay, cool. So my name is Derrick Standifer, Dr. Derrick Standifer. I currently reside in Atlanta, Georgia, with my two beautifully troublemaking babies, Ayana and Derrick Jr. Yeah, in the great city of Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay, and then you from there too, huh?
I am. I'm originally from my mama and my daddy, by way of Atlanta, Georgia, though.
I was gonna say I definitely can hear that Atlanta. That's why I asked. All
Yeah.
right, so now tell the people, obviously doctor, but tell the people what it is that you do.
So currently, I serve as a keynote speaker, resilience keynote speaker. I started a company called Life is Like a Rubik's Cube.
Okay.
In the story details my story of going to school, flunking out of school twice. I went back, got my bachelor's, I got my master's, and then I earned my PhD as a full-time single father of two academically gifted kids. So I created this concept, and I juxtapose how to solve the twists and turns of life to solving the twists and turns of the Rubik's Cube.
Okay. All right. I like that. So definitely play on words. Definitely a lot of creativity there that you really tapped into, mixing intellect and creativity. We love to see it. So okay, we're gonna get into that. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but now can you share about what led you to start prioritizing your mental health?
Oh, wow. That's a great question, man. I think a lot of I think a lot of black men just kind of had this concept. If you want to, if you want to address your mental health, you got to be crazy, or it's this stigma behind going to see a therapist or going to talking to someone. And I realized, in order for me to be the best parent, in order for me to be a whole, healthy, present parent, I needed to address my mental health. My mama, she died when I was right before to turn 26, a week before my 26th birthday. She passed away from ovarian cancer. And then my dad died, and during that whole concept, I went through this nasty, ugly divorce that left me a full-time single dad. And I was trying to deal with it, trying to cope, but I was sad. I was like, God, why this got to happen to me? I'm trying to do the best I can for my family, and I was just sad and depressed all the time. And I realized, I can't be present for my kids if I ain't present for myself. So I need to go address some things and deal with some things. So I started going to therapy, started talking to a counselor, and I greatly appreciate having that unbiased opinion, unbiased advice about how to navigate the twists and turns of my life.
I hate that that happened to you. One, so that you definitely with that, but you definitely striving with it, so that's good. I'm not even striving, you thriving for sure. I hate that in this society, and you made the comment about therapy a few weeks ago, well, about months now. I had a panel for my mid-season series, the As a Man series, and I had people that I know personally, and we talked about therapy, and they were all black men, and the ones that it was just like, I don't shame nobody for going to therapy. They made the comment and said, I just don't see myself paying for advice.
Mm.
What would be your response to that?
Um, so just the issue of that, right?
Yeah,
A lot of times people think it's just advice.
yeah,
Sometimes you need coping strategies. Sometimes a lot of black men in our community, we cope with our pain and our trauma through, drug addictions. It's popularized in our communities that, in order to escape, we need to smoke, or we need to drink, or we need to go to the club, or we need to indulge in a whole bunch of women. And if those are your coping mechanisms, you definitely need to get professional help. We like to call it advice. But coming from somebody who was hesitant to go to therapy, I was, why would I be paying for advice? Um, but after getting some professional help, when you're getting help from somebody who's unbiased, they don't know you, so they can't judge you. It's very comforting to have somebody to talk to. And if you can click with the right therapist, if you get the right therapist, the right person who can help you along your mental health journey, man, it opens up a lot of doors. We be battling depression and thinking that professional help is paying for advice, and that was the best money spent, man. It was the best money spent for me.
that's how I feel. With me, it was different because I'm not gonna lie, because of the jobs I worked when I was in education. The one time I went, I was in school and college, so it was free. And then, when I say free, it was in the fees, people. But even with
Mhm.
when I did it as an adult, as far as when I worked in education, it was free. So I was thankful for that. It was one school I worked at, I probably should have got it, but oh well, I needed it there. But it's just the things that they say that are said by these professionals that people say it's advice, but it's stuff I wouldn't have realized. Not even just about myself, about why your parents do certain things, or why like comments that are made that you'll be like, you know, you didn't. It's just so much. It just helps you to unpack some things to get to the bottom of
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So it's
Mm-hmm.
unfortunate that people, just kind of dismiss
You
it.
know,
But
I,
I
I
believe, huh?
I want to juxtapose it to a football coach,
Yeah,
or a coach. You might be an amazing player, but there's still certain things about your game that you can't see in the frame. You can't see outside looking in, inside looking out. You need somebody outside to see. Hey, you need to do this small, minute. It might be a small, minute thing that you just overlooking. That somebody from the outside can see that you just don't have privy to. So that's how what I consider therapy.
yeah, definitely, and that's a great way to look at it because I didn't think look at it from that analogy. So good stuff. Okay, so now you already talked about losing both parents. We talked about the tough divorce. We obviously know you're serious about your mental health. That's great. Now, how do you think that this helped to shape your resilience?
Mm. Um, I think overcoming the trials and tribulations when you have these burdens that sometimes they seemingly meant to break you and you push through them, it gives you a confidence that you can handle a level of grit, a level of work ethic that you didn't think you could handle. I never thought that I could, one parents being a single parent, being a full-time single parent is an exhausting task. I got a boy, I got a girl, they're 10, they 7. I've had them full time since they were 3 and 1,
Hmm.
and raising them. My daughter, she's going through things now that as a man I've never experienced. Oh man. So the resiliency piece comes in from failing, but then learning from my failures. Sometimes we win, sometimes we learn. I had to develop that mentality. We either win or we learn. We got to stop taking losses. Take the lesson from the loss, apply it to your life. I know you mentioned earlier about people going to therapy or going to repent, but not really showing repenting from their actions. And that's the same kind of concept when you experience these trials and tribulations of life. When things are heavy, use it as a learning mechanism, not as something to let you kind of stay stagnant into your same actions and your same way of moving.
No, for sure, definitely, and I agree. And we're gonna get more into all of that later. That's funny because I wanna keep it going like this. All right, now I got a few words, and I want you to tell me the first thing that comes to mind. There is no right or wrong answer. You ready?
Dessert.
The first one is avoidance.
Oh, that's that flight. That's that flight.
Crutch.
Addictions.
Accountability.
Ooh. Manhood. I think in order to be a man, you got to be accountable.
All right. So the definition of avoidance is the act of keeping away from or not doing something. The definition of crutch is a thing used for support or reassurance. And then accountability, the definition is the fact or condition of being accountable or responsibility. So I like the words you use because they definitely align with this. All right, y'all, let's move into the next segment for today, which is what does this have to do with mental health? So now, before we get to in depth in that, because I got some sources and things that we're gonna pull from. But what are some of the mental barriers that you face when deciding to seek therapy? You mentioned that you felt crazy. You mentioned that I don't want just advice, and then we've already kind of talked about what would you say to like men in general about that. We already had the conversation. So, what were the barriers that you faced besides those two?
The main thing initially was the opinions of my friends in my inner circle. I
Mm-hmm.
remember talking to my inner circle and telling them, I think might need to go see a therapist. And it was either an extreme or it was why you need to go see therapy. Like my male friends were, why you need a therapist? It was kind of like this concept, hey man, you don't need no therapy. Black men are taught to be strong and deal with our pain, and nobody checks on the lion, nobody checks on the strong person. So it's almost one of those concepts of you're strong. Why do you need therapy? And then the other extreme was, get on medication. And
Mm.
in my therapy journey, I was anti-medication. I'm still anti-medication. But I know I needed some type of medium in the middle. I needed some type of medium. And the other barrier was it's another thing to do. When you feel like you got a full plate, when you feel like you don't have enough time to do the things that you're already doing, and you want me to add therapy on top of it, it's another task to do that I really don't have time for. And since I don't have time for it, I'm not gonna add it to my plate. So
Yeah.
like that kind of concept.
Yeah, definitely. Because what was I about to say? Yeah, I think that a lot of times, I had a friend that was just like, talking about therapists. I was like, my friends are my therapists. I said, if y'all was my therapist, I'd be worse off because y'all don't know what y'all talking about. And and I think people think a therapist is just like the TV show where you're laying down and you just talking and then they just listen to you talk, which they do that, but it's another layer that people don't get.
Man, my therapist, so one of the benefits, they taught me my personality types. And kind of like the zodiac signs. I'm not too big on the zodiac signs, but some of that stuff has some relevance to it. Like you read it, you might, I see a overlap, right? But when you learn your personality type, you learn that you're this type of personality sources. Okay, how does this personality cope with grief? How did this personality type cope with wins and losses? You can kind of get some structured studies and structured information to how to cope with what you're dealing with.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. All right, now I got a few things we're gonna talk about. So the first way that this topic aligns with mental health, it says avoidance of true accountability can perpetuate harmful behavior.
Mm.
According to a study in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, when individuals avoid true accountability, they may develop a self-serving bias that enables them to deflect blame rather than address their actions. It says this avoidance prevents real growth and can perpetuate harmful behaviors, as individuals may use faith or therapy superficially to avoid deep self-reflection. For men using faith as a cover without addressing underlying issues, it can limit the effectiveness of any attempt at real change and reinforce negative behaviors. It was a while ago. I haven't seen it in a long time, but it was a phrase people used to use. They used to irk me: positive vibes only. And it would be whenever you're addressing something, and not always, but I know some people would try to use it negatively, and they'll just be like, you'll try to say you discuss. I've seen people like those slugs. You discuss something with them or want to have a conversation. They positive vibes only, positive vibes only, and it's like I don't believe in everything is positive all the time. And then there's also people think what is positive. You know what I mean? Because to me, positive is getting to is a hard conversation because we're getting to the root of things. Some people think it's just always, somebody told me one time about my podcast, they was just like, he's all for being positive. I'm like, what you consider positive? Because what I consider positive ain't the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
everything on here not happy. As far as that, sometimes I want you to leave like, oof, like you feel like you done said some stuff, or this person on here that said some stuff. So a lot of times I think people get caught up in the wrong definition. I'll just leave it at that.
And I get the concept of being positive all the time, but being positive ain't real. It's almost like, if you I juxtapose sports all the time. It's almost like giving every kid a trophy on the team, as opposed to giving the best players on the team the trophies, because it's not acknowledging the truthfulness of the whole situation. Everybody ain't all the way all the time positive, and sometimes you got to go through some things that hurt you in order to be positive, in order to heal. So it's like kind of like this fake facade. I call it like social media syndrome. People
Yeah,
be, they only post their representatives on social media. They post the positive things on social media, but behind closed doors is demons and life is falling apart. And if we acknowledge the true wholeness of the person, you can fully heal a person. You can't go to the doctor and tell the doctor nothing wrong when you got all these ailments going on. You're gonna leave the hospital unhealed. That's the same kind of concept with this positive vibes only. Like, bro, you might be going through hell in your brain and you need somebody to cope and help you get to the point where you can be positive, but you're putting on a mask.
yeah, for sure. That's the next point. So this goes into spiritual bypassing and mental health. The journey of spirituality and mental health describes a phenomenon known as spiritual bypassing, where individuals use spirituality to avoid facing painful truths, unresolved trauma, or accountability. This bypass can create a superficial sense of healing that does not address the root issues. Men who claim sudden religious transformation without addressing the impact of past actions may feel temporarily better, but are likely to encounter repeated emotional and relational challenges. Then the next one I like, and we're going to stop at this one. It says therapy as a path to accountability, not a quick fix. The American Psychological Association emphasized that effective therapy is rooted in self-awareness, emotional processing, and taking the responsibility of one's actions. Therapy is not a substitute for accountability, but rather a process that requires individuals to confront their past and work towards change actively. Using therapy to justify action or gain forgiveness without genuine reflection undermines its purpose and can lead to superficial healing that may leave underlying issues unaddressed. Now, before I ask you some more questions about you, This goes back to what I was saying earlier about the conversation with the whole election thing. Like I said, I don't care what your stance is on that. You are unfriending, blocking, removing people, cutting them off over that. My question to you would be, and not to you, I'm just mostly talking to the audience.
Mhm.
What where are you gonna be in 5 years with that? Because my thing is, it's different if this was like I said. That's why a lot of times I say y'all was doing it. Y'all was looking for a way out with that person. It's like in that bad relationship where you be like, if she slam this door one more time, I'm gone. You gonna use that as an excuse to just be
Mhm.
gone. So I feel like that was the case with that because there's no way you have a solid relationship with somebody and you just ended over that. You was looking for a way out. I mean, and like I said, we ain't got to get political, but just as do you think that the people use it as a way out with certain relationships?
Hey, so I really do think it's petty to cut people off because of their political beliefs, especially when it comes to the election. You know, one, just the as a primary point, the presidential election is the least most important election to us. You know, we know about Trump and Miss Harris, and you know, we wanted her to win and everything. However, you know, we need to be more knowledgeable on people that can fix our potholes in the cities, in the communities that we live in. You know, we place a big deal on the presidency, and I think it's hypocritical for us to place all this emphasis on the president, but we don't know who our local officials are. Well,
Yeah,
that's one point. You know, that's the political part of it. But the social part of it, um, you know, our friendships with our loved ones should be resilient. You know, everybody's not gonna show up exactly how you want them to show up. You know, I got friends who don't believe in the religion that I believe in. I got friends who don't believe that children are the future. All that stuff. Everybody has their lane that they walk in, and you know, I think it's one of those concepts where you take the meat and throw out the bones. You know, some people voted their way on the issues, not because of the person, but the issues. I got friends who are big in cryptocurrency. They won't they won't Kamala to win, but they big on cryptocurrency and they want to get their money right. You know, am I gonna cut them off for their financial beliefs?
right.
Nah,
Exactly.
nah.
Okay, this is a great transition. So, how do you balance self care and responsibility, and what advice would you offer young fathers?
Self care, responsibilities, and my advice to young fathers. Um, One, self care is priority. I think you can't pour from an empty cup. Make sure you good first. Make sure you're taking care of yourself first. If you can take care of yourself, then everything else kind of overflow to everybody else. And my advice to young fathers is one, be present regardless. Be present regardless. You know, I'm in a situation where I just happen to be a full time single dad, so I'm a little biased on this, right? But I feel like just the same type of responsibility that mothers are supposed to have for their kids, dads should have that same kind of responsibility for their kids. You know,
Yeah,
it's not a one-sided thing. The mother just doesn't supposed to raise the kid, and the father just kind of show up when they want to. Show up and be present. And as a dad who's fully present in my kids' life, man, there's no greater joy than seeing the incremental progress that my kids make. I love seeing the milestones that they hit, and I'm present. I see it, and these are moments, these are memories that I never want to miss. And when my biological father, when he passed away, one of the things that I saw in his face was this deep level of regret for not being present in his kid's life. You know, he was an alcoholic. He beat my mama, and I met him. I saw his name in the phone book, and we were forming a relationship. And he died on my 17th birthday, but I had a chance to meet him. I had a chance to talk to him, and he was teary eyed from not being in our lives. I'm telling him memories that he has no clue of. He has no clue about the memories that I was able to make. So be present, because when you get old and on your deathbed, you don't want to regret not being present and present in your kid's life.
yeah, definitely. Okay, that's a good message because like I said I know some single fathers. What else? So now we talk about that. Let's talk about ownership. Let's talk about being a business owner, a working man. So when we talk about balance and responsibility, like I said, we talked about that aspect. But when it comes to like your journey as far as the entrepreneur, that kind of thing, how is that? And exactly tell us like a day to day of that
Oh
with
man,
being a single
it's a
father.
journey. It's a journey. So one, I think the most important job that I have is being a present father. That's the number one job, and that trumps everything. And when you're a single parent, it takes a level of capacity that you always have to recharge yourselves. So I prioritize self care, um, but The other thing is I summon the energy of my ancestors. We're in this day and age where we got artificial intelligence built into our lives. We got ChatGPT. We got all these resources that we use that can be used to make our lives easier. So we got these smartphones, but most people don't use their smartphones to make them smarter. Most people use their smartphones to scroll on social media all day, and we don't use it to push forward the agenda. So
Yeah.
as a parent, you gotta be cognizant of what you're doing with your time. Every minute has something to do with it. When I'm not raising my kids, I'm building my business. When I'm
Yeah.
not raising my kids, I'm reaching out to people and asking them, hey, y'all need a keynote speaker? I speak on these topics. You gotta constantly find gaps in your time. When I put my kids to bed, I make sure I put time to myself where I can commit uninterrupted time where I can focus on my business. Before I wake my kids up, I give myself 2 hours in the morning before I wake them up where I can have uninterrupted time. Because when you up, your parent meter always on. You're always thinking about what I need to do for my kids. Like they're at school right now, but I'm thinking, if somebody calls, I need to be available. I need to run and go get them. Your parent meter never turns off. So find a good balance, and the same way that we budget our money should be the same way that we budget our time, especially if you're a single parent.
So you, at this point, you just full-time entrepreneur, correct?
Full-time entrepreneur, yeah, partly. I'm also an educator as well. I teach kids how to solve Rubik's cubes, how to play chess. I teach personal development for young kids, academic success principles, and young people as well.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, you got it all. You all over the place in a good way, not a bad way. So that's definitely, I like to see that because it all aligns. So that's why I'm thinking, and that's why it's funny because it's funny. I definitely see that eventually for you, all of this stuff you're doing, it all is aligning, but it's all going to get to the point where that business that you got, I definitely see that being like a real big thing out there,
Mm.
and being one of them things where you gonna have to eventually hire people and stuff. So
Thank you, bro. I'm
people.
gonna make you a profit. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Now, the role of resilience and ownership. Let's get back to how this aligns with mental health and healing. Resilience, as highlighted by Harvard Center on the Development Child, is built through facing rather than the avoiding difficult experiences. Taking responsibility is integral to resilience because it allows individuals to learn from their mistakes, grow, and make healthy decisions. When men use faith and therapy as a shield, they can miss an opportunity to build resilience. As a true healing requires ownership and active work toward positive change. And I like that again because again, I'm never gonna say, because obviously I'm a believer, right? I'm never gonna tell people not to go, get healing as far as going to church, going to therapy, really learning who you are through God. But I don't want you to just use it as a mask for social media. And that's what I get
Mm.
irritated, because I see people on social media. People can change. I've seen full transformations of people. You be like, that's that nigga, that's him. Like it'd be totally different. However, it'd be a lot of people I'll be looking at they posts on social media, and then I know them in real life, and I'll be like, is this the same person? That's
Right.
why one thing about me, I the same everywhere I go. How I act on here is how I act in real life. I call
Hmm.
myself out on this podcast as I do in real life. But some people, which I get into that, some people are very critical and they nitpick, and we'll get into that a little later. Because one thing about me, I'm not nitpicking. I am able to see things in people, good and bad, but I don't just pick on the negative. And I think and sometimes we think as people accountability is nitpicking, and we think that we don't see ourselves as being extremely critical. We thinking, oh, I'm just telling you like it is. It's like everything this person, like everything, how we say people, everything they do is good.
Hmm.
Everybody don't do everything good, but everybody don't do everything wrong either. So
Correct.
when I want people to understand, you always catch yourself, because we humans, right? Catch
Hmm.
yourself when you always highlighting what somebody did wrong. Because sometimes we think it was trying to help them, but then you end up crushing their spirit.
Hmm.
Um, keep
We
that
need
in
to
mind.
play that on both sides. Sometimes, I love the fact that we have people in our lives who hold us accountable. For instance, everybody has a friend that wants to be a rapper, and sometimes people can't rap. And sometimes our friends we praise our friends in spaces that they aren't talented in, and we don't praise them in spaces that they are talented in. So, if you my friend and you love me, you tell me what it is, and you guide me into the right space. And if you do it right, it has to be a right balance where you're not hating, you're not trying to tell nobody's goals down. You just want people to be, to be a realist. as a former educator, you know, all the kids want to be athletes. Every last one of them want to be athletes. But you can't tell me that you want to be an athlete if you 5'4", 150 pounds, and the only practice that you do is Madden. All you do is play Madden all day, but you want to be an athlete. That's not aligning. But if you on the field and you practicing every day and you working hard, you understand, hey, go be an athlete. Don't have no plan B. Put your energy into being an athlete.
All right. So now let me ask you another question. What does accountability look like in practice, and how can a man go beyond simply saying he's changed to truly make amends and learn from his past?
Oh, you gotta for men, man, we like to hide our truth. We like to present this facade, this representative. In order to be accountable, man, you got to go through the things that you weren't accountable in. So let's just say you want to be held accountable to your relationships with whatever it is. A lot of times we cope with alcoholism and marijuana and addictions. If you go to therapy, but you don't rid yourself of the vices that you're trying to rid yourself of, but you're posting, oh, I'm going to therapy, is healing, and all these things. The biggest person you lie to is yourself, and that's a scary thing when you got a lot of yourself to hide the pain that you're going through. And then you praise yourself publicly for the dopamine. Liking people's stuff on social media is a dopamine rush. We feel good when we get a whole bunch of likes and stuff, but are we substituting the likes for real change? And real accountability is change behavior. Don't apologize to me, but still do the same thing that you were doing that you needed to apologize for. That's not cool. The true apology comes with the apology, the acknowledgement of the behavior, then the change behavior. And a lot of times we hide behind that change behavior, and social media gives us that platform. Well, we can tell people whatever we want to tell them. We can tell people whatever we want to tell them without truly doing the work that needs to be done to change who we are.
Okay. All right, good stuff. Now we got to get a little spicy. So let's go to the next segment, which is I challenge that. And in this segment, we got to challenge some things with the intent of, we got to see. So before we get into that all the way, let's get personal. Can you give an example from your own life where taking accountability transformed your perspective and helped you make better decisions?
Oh man, I got a whole bunch of examples where transformation happened because of me taking accountability. I flunked out at FAMU in 2011. I went to FAMU, Florida A&M in Florida. I flunked out of school, went to Georgia State, flunked out. I got 0.0 GPA. Then I told myself I was going to get my life together, and I started listening to these motivational messages, but the accountability didn't happen until I went back to school. So the difference, prior to flunking out, I used to sit in the back of the classroom. I started sitting on the front row in every classroom because all the kids that were sitting on the front row were making straight A's. I started going to my professor's office early and often, and not just at the end of the semester. Most people go at the end of the semester begging for points. I was going early and often, letting them know that I was serious about my work. I was genuinely studying. I stopped listening to I started listening to motivational messages all the time and stopped listening to the negative, degrading music. That's the educational component. From a relationship component, I went to therapy, and my therapist started telling me about this fear of being alone, had this fear of being by myself. So I told myself, let me take some time to be by myself, to be single, so I can learn what it is to be with myself before I start being with other people.
Yeah.
And when you learn who you are and what you like, you're not gonna compromise your non-negotiables to be in a relationship with somebody. You gotta figure out what it is that you desire. And we mentioned this in the beginning about this thing of running away from our problems. But instead of now uncomfortable situations, I used to run away from them. I used to not respond to messages on purpose because I don't want to deal with addressing this issue head on. But now, man, I found so much joy and I found so much comfort in being honest and being truthful.
Yeah.
So you don't have to go back and fix a lie. I think what most people, we try to avoid hurt by lying, but the lie hurts more when you have to go back and fix a lie. It causes more damage. It causes more pain.
Yeah.
I've learned that now. Be honest and truthful in the beginning, and then most importantly, is the accountability to my children. I'm in a situation where I'm a single dad of two, and I make mistakes with my kids. I make mistakes all the time with my kids, but going back and apologizing to my kids and asking for insight. Hey, y'all, how can I be a better dad to y'all? One, being a better dad to my kids, but also dealing with, just being honest, man. Single parenting is raggedy. It's raggedy.
Mm.
I wouldn't wish it on nobody. Like my kids, their mom lives in Florida, lives in West Palm Beach. So, and I think in my situation where, both parents want to be present, but when when a man has the kids, a lot of resentment goes into that. So it's I mean, we talked about this. The men who the ain't shit men, they get the best baby mamas. They get the best ones who, they don't get held to they don't get to deal with the problems. But the men who truly try and who truly want to be present in their kids, they're the ones who get the most, the illness of single parenting.
Yeah.
And balancing those dynamics is what I want. What I, balancing those dynamics is what I want to bring light to.
No, that's good because it does happen. And, I know somebody personally who's a single father, and, a lot of the stuff I see parallels. I'm not going to go much in depth because I ain't going to tell anybody's story, but I know I see some parallels. That's why it's interesting that we having this conversation. But it actually leads to my next question perfectly, because we could talk about, let's ask this. Why do you think a lot of people are self-absorbed?
Mm. Um, I think everybody has this thing with vanity. They want to put themselves in a positive light. They want to put themselves in a when we first meet somebody, they don't meet our true selves. They meet our representative. They meet who we want them to see. On social media, we show them the beauty parts of us. We show them the good things about us. We don't show them the nasty things about us that we really need to fix. Because you know we're in this space. You know, we're in this space where we're supposed to show up as we are, but you
Yeah.
have to show up and hide the bad things about you. You have to show up and hide the things that we don't want people to know about us that we truly are. It's really weird that, you know, in the space that everybody is judgmental, everybody is critical, but everybody is a sinner. Everybody has their own things that they need to address, but we always pointing fingers and throwing stones at other people, and we want people to see us in this beautiful light, like we don't have any flaws. And it's okay to be human. I think humans don't want to admit the fact that we are human. That means we make mistakes. That means we drop the ball, and it is okay. It's okay. So hiding behind this false narrative of who we are, it does more harm than good, man. Because we got all these people that we look up to, not knowing that the things that we admire about them might be the things they're lying about. They might be hiding the truthfulness about the things that we admire about them, and it'll do more good if we can learn how they coped with their issues as opposed to hiding their issues.
Yeah. And yeah, it's, I think, I think that people, like, say for instance, the person who would be they'll talk about the things they struggle with and all that stuff on social media, but then they leave out how they are nitpicking everybody in real life. And it's like,
Mhm.
if you got online and talked about your struggle with that, it could really give you the full circle, because right now we're seeing half the circle. Now, self-absorption is a thing. People see things from their reality. I hate this logic of, I don't hate it because I do enjoy the fact that people can say, speak their truth and their reality. But sometimes your reality lies to you. And sometimes you think something happened one way and it didn't happen that way. I'm not calling
Mhm.
you crazy. I'm just saying maybe it's based on trauma or whatever. Maybe and sometimes you may base a situation, a negative situation, off of something this person has done before, or maybe because this person reminds you of somebody that traumatized you. And I think that happens a lot. Sometimes people remind somebody of somebody and it just makes them just like hate that person guts. I don't know. It's
Mhm.
weird. Now let me ask this, because we're in the challenge section. So we already talked about the facade of people, oh, I didn't met the Jesus, so I'm a new person. But what if if what you went through pushes you closer to God for real and real transformation? What happens when that happens? Why do you think that when people get saved, healed, delivered, set free, like I said, I've seen it. Why do you think we're so quick to demonize them and say that it's fake?
Mm. Mm. Hey, I got this quote that I live by, right? The number one key to gaining success is to mind your own business. And a lot of times people be focused on other people more than they be focused on themselves. And we need to truly take the time to, first of all, if I build myself up and I make sure that I'm whole and I'm healthy, I really don't have time and energy to be focused on whether or not somebody else is whole and healthy and energized. It gives me hater. It gives me hater mentality. As a kid, my kids bicker all the time. and they bicker about things that the other person is doing, but it doesn't really affect that person. Like my daughter might get she might get on my son about something that really ain't got nothing to do with her. And I'm like, baby girl, you'll be a lot more at peace if you just focus on you. You just focus on what you need to do and what you need to get done. I'm not, Jay-Z, the great philosopher Jay-Z, he got this quote: "What you eat don't make me shit." So why am I focused on your transformation? Like, if it helps me, good. But if it don't help me, you know, we like, we like to consume ourselves with information that don't really have anything to do with us, and it really don't do nothing but stress us out.
Right.
For instance, somebody else doing something that I don't agree with. I don't have to make that a part of my reality. I don't have to make that a part of my world. I can go the other way. We're not in this space where we just have to stay into spaces that we don't want to be a part of. Stop worrying about other people. Worry about yourself. For real, worry about yourself, man. I promise your life will be a whole lot easier if you focused on you. Stop worrying about everybody else.
I think that's great. And like I said, because I think that it's just a natural reaction. Like if we see somebody, say you see it, just be honest. Now, you might not go investigate it, and I believe you wouldn't, but just we being honest here. Say, for instance, you seen somebody, you say this person was a killer, a robber, no, unaliver, we on YouTube, unaliver, a scammer, I hate God, the YN, you stick them up, and then you look at their Instagram. They got whole paragraphs with Bible scriptures. They recording them at the church, praising and worshiping. They, change how they dress. They change all these things. Like I said, sometimes there be some. I'll say this to that. The fruit always gonna show itself. So it don't matter how it look on the outside, it's always gonna expose itself. And this is not the encouraging you to go in depth and study and see if somebody really faking it or not. I'm just saying for the people that understand that some people, be prepared. I'm telling you now, I'm not trying to get no prophetic word, I guess, but be prepared now. Y'all about to see some people change that you would have never thought would have been the ones. And so when you say it, don't be quick to demonize them. That's all I'm gonna say. Now, what happens if we are being too critical? This is from an article by David G. It says, what happened to a responsibility and accountability? It says, whatever happened to responsibility and accountability? All I see here anymore is people pointing the finger of blame at anyone but themselves. No one's willing to take responsibility for their own actions anymore. This is how our conversation started. He says, my friend went out to complain that his students in college skip class. They don't do their assignments, fail tests, and then they blame their poor grades. He says, liberals blame conservatives blame liberals, children blame adults blame children, women blame men blame women. The poor blame the rich blame the poor. We even have criminals blaming the police for the crimes the criminals commit. Has anyone read Galatians 6 and 5? Now, let's go back to the scripture from earlier, which was part of the inspirations, which I said, every man shall bear his own burden. Like you said, what Jay-Z just said. People are getting caught up, and like you said, talking about your daughter, which happens with kids all the time. And like I said, you live with it, but it was annoying as a teacher dealing with it in class. But I know living with it is just like, bro, come on. Mm-hmm. Like they just going back and forth. But people worry about the wrong thing, and nobody wants to take accountability. I hate to be this person. But there's a big push right now that now that Trump is elected, they're saying, this penalty. Now, some of these penalties are extreme for like drug dealers or whatever, right? I believe the penalty is extreme. But in the same breath, you're selling drugs. You know that that's not okay. Mm-hmm. So why are we overlooking that aspect? I get, being Black, growing up in, in certain environments, or not necessarily certain environments, being around certain people from certain environments, we get this is the fastest way to make money. However, it's not okay. So my question to you is, how do you judge a situations that where we've talked about earlier, we've normalized a lot of stuff that's not okay. Mm-hmm. And I want to word this. How do you look at people? How do you judge situations or analyze situations where we are condemning someone for the response, but the initial thing that was done was wrong?
Hey, it's crazy you mentioned this because I see it all the time. We be like, free such and such, free this person. When they did the crime, they did what they were accused of, and we're like, freedom. No, they need to be reprimanded. They need to stay their butt in jail. Like, Lil Durk just got arrested for, I think, murder or something like that.
We covered
Everybody
that.
like, free Lil Durk. He made good music. He killed somebody. P Diddy. Bro, we saw the monstrous thing that he was doing. Certain people deserve their punishments, and I think we're in this space where people are coddled. We don't like to take responsibilities, and that starts from a young age, right? That starts from a young age. It's training us up. You said as a former educator, bro, we done seen kids get passed along who don't do no work. They don't do nothing. They know they're gonna pass the class regardless of what they do. What kind of behavior does that sprout as an adult? Oh, I'm supposed to get paid for not doing the work. I'm getting paid for not doing the work. Why am I getting punished for breaking the law? There's nobody to come in here and save me from the punishment. That's what happens. And we see it in school. Kids, we praise bad kids for being good momentarily, but we don't praise good kids for being good all the time. It's the weirdest thing. Like, oh man, this kid done acted a fool all day. Let's praise him since he was good for 30 minutes. But the kid being good all day is just, that's their normal behavior, so we're not gonna do anything to them. Man, it's kind of like we're not preparing these kids for the reality of society. Society is not going to sit here and baby them and coddle them and free them from their responsibilities when they do wrong. And as a kid, for kids' upbringing, we shouldn't do it either. Let these kids experience the punishment of not doing, of not working. I think we're in this age where our parents always say, I want to give my kids everything that they never had. And I see it. They're giving the kids everything that they never had. And the kid don't understand hard work. They don't understand work ethic. They don't understand responsibility. They don't understand accountability because everything is given to them. And as soon as we take something away from them, it's why, this is mine. I'm entitled to it. That right there creates this whole entitlement mentality that we got to eradicate.
But you made the comment earlier about which is keeping it with the students about how that's like with a coach being like, oh, everybody get MVP trophies. No, he gonna get an MVP trophy because he earned it. Y'all not getting that, so it should show you something to work towards. But in education, in education today, everybody gets a trophy. You can't really fail nobody because even if you fail them, it always falls back on you. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, well, what did you do as a teacher? Okay, did you set up tutorials? Did you give them a chance to redo it? Did you call the parent? Did you explain it? It's always gonna go back to, but what did you do? Even though they're wrong, it's always gonna fall back on you. So then educators are tempted to just say, give them a C so they can get up on my face so that I ain't gotta worry about it. And even with sending them to summer school, I never been to summer school. Never. I ain't never had bad grades. Some schools for kids that was back in the day was for dummies. That's what some schools for. And for them ain't no parents who wanted their kids to get ahead. You can get them ahead at home, but whatever. Anyway, they put them in summer school, and summer school, from what I was told, was hell back in the day. They actually did work. They actually had homework. They actually was in there working hard. Summer school these days, all they doing is showing up and getting on the computer all day for some hours. Like, and they just doing like clicking through stuff. It's just basically just to say they did it. But my old shout out to her, my old principal used to say, it's like everybody just get a trophy. And that's just the world we live in. So like just give them a trophy because so they can just, pass along. Even with the whole No Child Left Behind, we blame the current presidents for that, but they was getting left behind. Well, who started that? Wasn't that George W. Bush?
That was in Bush's era. And bro, and with that being said, now we got kids who they grow up into adults who never know what it is to work hard for anything. Like it's so easy to become successful because hard work ethic is gone out the window. When you start passing along kids and a kid can just know, I never have to show up for class and I can pass. That becomes an adult. Let me figure out how I can shortcut the work, how I can take shortcuts in this project. Because, I don't have to put all of my energy into it if I can shortcut it and still get the maximum benefits. And that's the space that we in now.
All right. Good stuff. Let's go to the final segment today as we kind of end up things with the weekly sabbatical. And in this segment, we kind of just reminisce on some things. I hate to ask this question because I'm sure I know the answer, but like growing up, You talk about your situation with your father. So it's interesting how, although your father wasn't active, now you are the active father and parent in general. Um, it's probably a stupid question, but I gotta ask anyway. Did you ever see yourself being a single father?
Mm. No, that's not a stupid question because every time people find out that I'm a single dad, how did it happen? They want to know where their mama is. Why? How did you become a single dad? Never thought that I would be a single dad. Before I even had kids, I went to FAMU. And I had a mentor who told me the most revolutionary thing Black folks can do is get married, have babies, and stay together. So that was my mantra. Let's do this. Let's get. At the same time, I knew I never wanted to be a stepdad. I knew I never wanted to be not present in my kids' life because I saw the regret that my dad had, and I had my father, but I had a man by the name of Coach Hill. He was my football coach. He mentored me, and I was with him all the time. So people just started to refer to me as his son. So
Mm-hmm.
everything that I learned about manhood, I learned from him, and I knew I was gonna be present. I knew I was gonna be an amazing dad, man. And then as an educator too, I saw I saw what our kids were capable of doing versus what our kids are doing in the school. Like my kids started reading at 3 and playing chess at 3, and they started solving Rubik's cubes at 6. And I was able to accomplish these things as a full-time single dad. And it wasn't rocket science. It wasn't hard to do. It was, consistency. If you do something incrementally every single day, they'll master it, right? Um, but to get back to the question of did I ever feel myself being a single dad? Never thought it would be happen. Never thought it would happen. However, unfortunately, traumatic things happened. I went through this nasty divorce. My rights as a father were violated. I think women automatically believe that the children are theirs, and the dad just there for extra support. Um, but in this day and age, if you violate a man's rights who wants to be present, and if that man shows up, keep evidence and shows up and has evidence, you can be present in your kid's life if you want to be. You can be. And unfortunately, I hate that my kids are in a situation where they're fully with me and they're not with them because kids need both parents. They need both parents in alignment working towards the same goal. And since my
Yeah.
kids don't have that, they missing something. But I still try to give them the best thing that they could. Despite the fact that they are missing their mother being present with them, on a daily basis.
Okay. And so they do still see the mother, it's just not as often.
Yeah, they go down there for summers and for Christmas breaks. So kind of
Okay.
like how dads generally are the summertime dad, and so my kids go with their mom for Christmas and for summer breaks.
Okay. Okay. So let me ask you this, and this is just your own personal advice. For men who are in a difficult season right now, perhaps facing similar losses or struggles, what would you say to them about the importance of taking accountability and seeking support?
Mhm. Hey, I was reading something earlier about seasonal depression. This is the era. And I encourage people to seek support before they get into the holiday season.
Mhm.
Because when Thanksgiving is approaching, especially if you've experienced loss, like if your mama died, but your mama was the one that was cooking Thanksgiving dinner, that's a hard season for you. Christmas is a
Yeah.
hard season for you. These times where you're supposed to be with your family and your family ain't there, you gotta seek the resources out. Don't be afraid to go out there and talk to your friends so you can be around people so you don't feel lonely during the holidays. Um, but two, that mental health is important. Most of us got insurance and we don't maximize our insurance.
Yeah.
I had a friend that tell me, "You pay for insurance and you don't go to the doctor." Hey, so if you're paying for these services, utilize the services. Call these folks and set up the mental health support systems. It's not 100% effective, right? But it's a step in the right direction. And if you go and if you implement that accountability part, don't just go for the likes on Facebook just to say I went. Go and actually implement the things that you need to be implemented. They give you coping strategies. They tell you, these things might help you out in the long term. And if you listen to the advice of your coach, it can help you make you better, a better person for yourself and your loved ones.
Okay. Good stuff. Now, so we got that point. Now, going back to the source earlier about accountability that we used with David G. It said to set the kind of example God expects of you concerning responsibility and accountability, make a point of doing what responsible people do. It says, here are just a few examples. It says, consider the consequences of your action before proceeding. I think a lot of us don't do that. I got caught up in a situation, ain't a big situation, where I'm like, dang, I didn't think of the outcome of this. And then I was like, this bad thing happened. It was like, why didn't I think of that consequence of that? So keep that in mind. It says, consider the consequence of your word before saying them. This is something I big at because I just rather sometimes, and it might not always be the healthiest thing, if especially when I'm having, riffs with people, I just kind of just let me just stay away from you for a while because I don't trust what I'm gonna say. So let me just stay away. Refuse to blame others when things go wrong. Blame yourself first, I feel like, and say where you went wrong. And that seems to be missing. It says admit mistakes, correct them, and learn from the experiences. Keep your promises, do what you say you would do. Be dependable, be on time, pull your own weight, get the job done right. When responsible for the performance of a group or team, take the blame and share the credit. When challenges arise, focus on solutions, not problems. That's something I'm very solution based.
Mm.
And sometimes solutions require cutting access because it requires you to say, as a man, it's not working. We need to go ahead and just let this go. And not even in relationships. It could just be like a business thing. It might be saying, sometimes I believe warfare behind something is good because it means you're on the right track. But sometimes it could mean like this we need to readjust, change the what we're doing because this is not gonna go. And then the last one, it says, has the courage to do the right thing in all situations, even when you don't benefit from doing so. And I think even with you, a lot of it, being a parent, I feel like that's the most selfless act. So I'm sure you definitely know all about that. Final question for you. If you could leave young millennial men with one powerful message about mental health and resilience, what would it be?
If I had one piece of advice for millennial men, I would say to find you a mentor. You know, most times we don't have people to show us what it's like to be 20. We don't have people to show us like what it's like to be 30 and 40 and 50. Find you somebody who's been to where you're trying to get to,
Mm-hmm.
and utilize their advice. Take advantage of their advice. I know as a teenager, as a young person, we can be in this space where we think we know it all. I already know, I already know, I already know. But sometimes you just need a little guidance in your life, man, to navigate this path. I've had people in my life who served as mentors, and their advice helped me get to a place faster and avoid the mistakes. Sometimes, bro, we can save 10 years of mistakes by listening to somebody else's mistakes. Don't do that. I did this. Don't do that. I did this before. So if you make this decision, probably expect this outcome. And instead of being a know-it-all, let's humble ourselves and have some wise people in our circle, wise counsel in our life to help us maximize ourselves. I got this from The Last Dance. When I saw that Michael Jordan, he hung around old wise people. I
Yeah.
said, let me get me some old wise people in my life to show me how to navigate this thing.
For sure, for sure. All right, y'all, let's end up with the question of the challenge, and this is for y'all to do. Reflect on a time where you might have used faith or therapy to avoid facing a tough truth about yourself, and how could taking full accountability have changed that outcome? All right. This has been a great episode. I knew that was gonna be. Anything else you gotta say you want to plug before you go? Any final words?
One, thank you for the opportunity to serve. If y'all want to check out more of what we got going on Facebook, I'm Derrick Standifer. On Instagram is Derrick Standifer. You can also look up Life is Like a Rubik's Cube. This is for organizations that need dynamic keynote speakers on resiliency. It would be an honor, privilege, and pleasure to serve. Or if you are a parent who's looking to maximize your child's academic potential, use me. It would be an honor to serve. Y'all be great like the lakes. Y'all be blessed like a sneeze. Peace and blessings, love and light.
All right, that's an intro exit we ain't heard in a long time, so that's good. All right, y'all. Tune in. Thank y'all for tuning in this week. Make sure y'all tune in next week and Monday for the Mental Man live stream. We will be recapping this episode as well as two culturally relevant things going on. PSA signing out. Always remember, keep your head up like your neck hurt. Remember who you are. Make your mind up. Don't let it make you. And remember.